10's Late News with Tracy Spicer.
Tonight, criminal charges expected over the deaths of 2 Australians in Israel. Vicious bandits caught on camera threatening a shopkeeper's life, and the prospect of a zero interest rate well worth writing home about. Good evening. There's been a dramatic new development tonight in the wake of the bridge collapse in Israel that killed 2 Australians. Reports from Israel say police have enough evidence to charge between 3 and 6 officials with negligence. Among those expected to be arrested are the engineer who built the bridge and 2 contractors. The bridge cracked in 2 on Monday while Australians were making their way to the Jewish Games opening ceremony. Another report from Israel tonight says Games officials who hired the engineer and contractors might also be charged. A frightening attack has been captured by a security camera. A shopkeeper was stabbed even though he did everything he was ordered to.
This man told police he thought he was going to die. 2 masked bandits burst into the Brisbane convenience store, one armed with a tomahawk, the other a long-bladed knife. The shopkeeper was stabbed in the hand, even though he complied with their demands. After cleaning out the till, the bandits helped themselves to cigarettes before fleeing. The attendant had to be treated in hospital. This security vision is the only clue police have in their hunt for the bandits, who they believe might be responsible for several similar attacks. And in Adelaide, more burglars caught in the act. These men are robbing a service station. They too are unaware a security camera is catching their every move and their identity. Police are appealing for help as they try to track them down. And a Sydney man is being questioned tonight over the murder of a woman in her eastern suburbs home. The young mother was repeatedly stabbed after an argument. At the time of the attack, her child was playing in a downstairs room. Detectives say the man in his 30s drove to a nearby police station to report the incident, but by the time paramedics arrived at the home, the woman had been dead for almost half an hour. Jason Morrison, 10 News.
There's been a dramatic twist in the backpacker murder case. It's been claimed new evidence links someone other than Ivan Milat to the murders. Milat was convicted of killing 7 backpackers and has been locked up for life. A Sydney newspaper says a group fighting for Milat has startling evidence from a woman. She says her former husband had items belonging to 2 of the victims before he committed suicide 4 years ago and was a suspect for some time. Milat is seeking a retrial. A goods train has derailed, spilling deadly chemicals and leading to a wide-scale evacuation. The accident happened today near the West Australia-South Australian border. Police have been told to leave a 2-kilometre area around the derailment. There are no reports of injuries. A zero home loan interest rate sounds too good to be true, but it is a possibility as banks battle for business in a competitive market.
The competition is hot, while home buyers in some states are enjoying rates as low as 4.99%. Mortgage experts predict the best is yet to come, like interest-free loans for up to 6 months.
I think it may not be the end of it yet, but you can't get lower than 0%.
Sounds good, 6 months interest-free, but what's the catch?
Interest-free has already been trialled by lenders overseas, helping many who previously couldn't afford to buy their own home.
Okay, so you need to borrow about $120,000.
Real estate experts believe it could kickstart a nationwide home buying frenzy.
If it happens, it certainly will impact on values in those lesser areas that haven't yet experienced any growth.
The rate's designed to snare new customers. Some lenders are looking at family packages, health insurance, the kids' education and a home loan, all rolled into one.
I think so, that's the way we'll be heading, and also along with a full line of financial services.
With so many new home loan deals expected to flood onto the market, buyers are being warned to look at the big picture before signing up.
If you see it as a gimmick, of course, then you know that there are catches in there, and there's nothing for free in this world.
Darren Roberts, 10 News.
Shopping mall owners have been accused of standover tactics in a bitter attack by the federal opposition. It's demanding urgent action from the new small business minister to protect small firms from intimidation.
In May, disgraced former Small Business Minister Jeff Prosser promised the government would respond within 3 months to a fair trading report, which revealed tenants were receiving unconscionable treatment at the hands of big business. The federal opposition claims the abuse of market power by major retailers, franchisers and shopping mall owners is widespread.
I'm getting a picture that is very disturbing and one which in fact was well chronicled in that small business report.
Mr Martin claims during a recent meeting with tenants at the Greensborough Plaza in Melbourne, security guards and management listened in on their conversation.
It was subsequently reinforced when management sent down one of their people to stand there and take the names of those people that were actually talking to me about the problems.
The federal opposition says if the government adopts the report's recommendations, they'll support it through both houses of parliament. Those recommendations include a voluntary code of practice underpinned by legislation and to give more teeth to the Competition Commission and Trade Practices Act to offset some of the power of big business. New Small Business Minister Peter Reith is hoping to respond in 6 weeks' time. For now, he's urging another fall in interest rates.
We've seen a 2% drop in interest rates since this government's been in. We'd obviously always like to go further.
And Mr Reith has downplayed the significance of this highly sensitive document containing uncomplimentary descriptions of 15 of our South Pacific neighbours, claiming Labor's record is no better.
Who could forget the famous recalcitrant comment from Paul Keating that did such tremendous damage to Australia's economic relations with one of its biggest partners?
Jane Hinchke, 10 News.
Australian scientists have designed a portable device to protect against lightning strikes. The idea came to them in a flash.
Roughly 5 million flashes hit Australian ground annually. 1 in every 2 million people are at risk of being killed by it, 3 times as many injured. The deceptively simple answer, 3 telescopic aluminium poles that fold to the size of a golf bag.
Well, the science is interception of the lightning, cancellation of the electric fields and prevention of side flashes. Simple science, but rather effective.
The Queensland University professor proved it today with a 1 million volt electric hit in a laboratory. It works, I'm here to tell you. The Army is already interested.
It was one of the triggers for doing the work. People on golf courses, people on the bushwalks, and that's where most of the fatalities take place.
And ultimately, sporting organisers may be required to provide lightning protection.
I understand the Americans are about to legislate to provide protection if you are organising an outdoor event.
The anti-lightning device can also protect electrical equipment. The patent was only filed on Wednesday, and the university hopes that somebody will be making it commercially within 6 months. The cost? Less than $100. Mark Sulo, 10 News.
Still to come in 10's late news, a wonderful silence falls across Northern Ireland tonight as a ceasefire comes into effect. And Central European cities go under as floodwaters rise. Emergency teams are on standby in several Central European countries tonight as rain continues and floodwaters rise.
Repairing the city's defences is a heavy and laborious job. Stone by stone, these soldiers restore a crumbling bank on the River Odra. It's a battle against time as the raging torrent eats into the banks, pulling up trees by their roots and swallowing them. The fear is that this will get worse. The medieval centre of Wrocław shows the defences built to save the historic buildings last week. As the water inched upwards, the barriers just protected the old town.
We organize again the battle on the wall of the rivers, and this without the help of the inhabitants of Wrocław and the soldiers of Polish army, it would be very difficult.
Those same people are having serious problems rebuilding their lives. Some parts of the city are still underwater, and across the region, roads and bridges have been destroyed. Despite the water everywhere, nearly everyone in Wrocław has to queue for fresh supplies from tankers because the mains pumps have been destroyed in the floods. Mineral water and food are among the emergency aid now being distributed. The eventual bill will run into many millions of dollars.
Hurricane Danny has been pounding the coast of Alabama in the United States. The worst hit area is Mobile Bay, where winds up to 130 kilometres an hour were recorded. 1 person died. The damage bill is millions of dollars. Thousands of homes and buildings have been blacked out, and torrential rain caused flash flooding. Many people in Mobile Bay were there 20 years ago when Hurricane Frederick came through and left the area a splintered wreck. For the second time in almost 30 years, the IRA has ordered its fighters to lay down their arms. The ceasefire has taken effect tonight amid high hopes it will lead to permanent peace in Northern Ireland.
It is a day the people of Northern Ireland have prayed for. A new ceasefire, another chance for peace.
It's a very, very special day. I just can't believe that this is happening again, and I just hope it lasts this time for good.
Mercy on us. At the Clonard Catholic Church, Sunday's sermon was about reconciliation. Lists of all those who've died in almost 3 decades of sectarian violence are on display. More than 3,000 names: soldiers, policemen, taxi drivers, children, Catholics and Protestants alike.
It helps us, in a way, to realize the full dimension of the responsibility we have now to work together to make an end forever of the political violence that led to so many deaths.
Almost everyone in Northern Ireland has been touched by the bloodshed. Jim remembers a friend. The hard part now will be to put aside all the hatred.
I think it'd be very hard for both sides because both sides have been hurt so much over the years. But I would hope so. I would hope everybody could put it behind them. But it's going to be very, very hard. I mean, wounds are very fresh.
Now for the real battle, reads one Sunday headline. With the guns silent, it is now up to the politicians to find a settlement.
If the Unionists allow the Republicans to talk, get round the table for dialogue, then this one has a good chance of lasting. The people of all Ireland want to see peace.
The pressure is on the Protestant Unionists not to let their skepticism squash this opportunity for inclusive talks.
A Jordanian soldier who killed 7 Israeli schoolgirls visiting his country in March has been given a life sentence with hard labour. The judge said he wasn't given the death sentence because of a personality disorder.
Fatma Dekamsa, the wife of the accused man, the mother of his 3 children, prayed outside the court while she waited for the verdict with his family. In court, Ahmed Dekamsa, a 26-year-old soldier, greeted his lawyer. The defense was that he was mentally disturbed when he opened fire. He claimed he killed the girls after they teased him and took pictures of him praying. The murders happened last March on the border between Israel and Jordan. The girls were on a school trip to an enclave called the Island of Peace. In court this morning, the judge said this was not a political crime. Sentencing him to life with hard labor, he said Dekamsa had been mentally unstable when he committed the murders, but he had to be punished. Many Jordanians think that peace with Israel was a bad bargain. They still regard Israelis as enemies. For them, Dekamsa was a hero, and now he's become a victim.
The crew on the embattled Mir space station have been told to sit back and take it easy until a new crew arrives. Mir's creaking along at half power after a number of problems. The 2 Russian cosmonauts and 1 American astronaut are showing signs of wear after a stressful time in orbit. Another team is undergoing special training back on Earth and will blast off next month to bring the station back to shipshape condition. A racket using deaf-mute Mexicans as slave labour has been uncovered in New York. They were held prisoner and forced to sell trinkets for the racket organisers who smuggled them into the United States.
4 Mexican deaf-mute men walked into this police station early Saturday morning. Writing in English and using sign language, they related to officers a disturbing tale of apparent slave labor.
This is a very disgusting and horrible situation.
Inside 2 homes, police discovered 62 Mexicans, many of them deaf-mutes, crammed into cubicles. 10 of them were children.
It was a tight compartment, mattresses all over, individuals on the floor, infants on the floor. The surroundings were very poor.
Police say that this woman and other victims were forced to work the streets selling trinkets for as little as $1.
All of the people appear to be deaf-mutes. So in addition to taking these people into bondage and requiring them to work for him, he was also taking advantage of people with disabilities.
Residents saw the deaf-mutes selling on trains and street corners.
They come around with screwdrivers, keychains.
But neighbors said they didn't sense anything was wrong.
They look happy, always with a smile on his face and smiling at all the people. When they give it to you, they smile like you.
But authorities say victims told them a ringleader of the operation employed physical and sexual abuse.
People that are handicapped are easier to abuse, and if they're afraid to go to the authorities.
The Red Cross quickly assisted the Mexicans who were brought in for questioning by immigration officials. The startled Mexicans said their papers were taken away from them after being brought to New York from Mexico. Police took one man into custody for questioning. Police said the disabled Mexicans appeared in good health.
Next in Thames Lake News, a timely warning about the risk you might have diabetes but don't know it. And putting the bits together 1 year on from one of the world's most mysterious jet disasters. A Melbourne man escaped with his life this afternoon when his house erupted in flames. The fire gutted 2 bedrooms and a bathroom as it raged through the second story of the brick home in Toorak. The blaze left an estimated $100,000 damage. But firefighters were able to save a valuable collection of paintings and furniture downstairs. The fire started when a mattress being aired fell on a strip heater. People over 40 are being urged to have a diabetes check because they might have the illness without knowing it. Prompt treatment prevents serious problems later.
At 41, the Federal Health Minister is at an age where the danger of developing diabetes dramatically increases.
I've been tested, but I haven't got it.
But more than 250,000 other Australians don't know they've got the potentially deadly disease.
We want those 300,000 people who've got it but don't know about it to find out, to be tested. They can have nasty complications, blindness, kidney failure, heart disease, loss of a leg.
Diabetes can strike anyone, but a healthy diet can significantly reduce the risk of developing the disease. The better choices in potatoes are the new potatoes and sweet potatoes because they're loaded with fibre, which means that glucose takes longer to go through the bloodstream. A sensible lifestyle and early detection can also prevent the horrendous complications of a disease that claims 2,500 lives a year, adding $1 billion to the nation's health bill. Dietitians stress diabetics can eat a wide variety of foods as part of a nutritious diet suitable for the whole family. It's a healthy diet for children, adults, people with heart disease or cancers, because it really is high in fibre, low in fat. Bernadette Nunn, 10 News.
A trainee pilot walked away without a scratch after his plane turned turtle on landing. Investigators in Brisbane say the pilot of the single-engine Cessna approached the landing strip too high, bounced on touchdown and then flipped the craft upside down. Damage is about $20,000. Relatives of people who died in one of the world's most mysterious jet crashes have been to see the reassembled wreckage. The TWA 747 blew up and crashed into the sea soon after taking off from New York a year ago.
Many say the enormous reconstruction of wreckage reassured them that investigators are still working hard to solve the crash.
I really do believe that they are doing just about everything that they can do.
Saturday, investigators completed the last of 9 flight tests at Kennedy Airport they hope might determine what sparked the explosion.
But one of the interesting things that we appear to have found from this test with the aircraft is that in the center fuel tank, there are different areas of temperature. Well, one of the recommendations that we made to the FAA was to put a thermometer in the center fuel tank to be able to tell the pilots what the temperature was in that tank.
What concerns many of the families is that without conclusive evidence, the FAA might be slow to implement the safety board's recommendations for changes in fuel tank operations. But while the investigation remains open, the families witnessing the wreckage once again were reminded of the magnitude and reality of the disaster.
It would be a shame if all these people that were on this flight died in vain. So while we have a place in the spotlight, we need to take advantage of that to work with other people and to get things done.
Supermodels took a back seat while local celebrities paraded the catwalk at Hong Kong's Spring-Summer Fashion Parade today. The designers decided not to dress the usual bevy of beautiful models for this year's event, choosing instead to see how the clothes looked on some familiar faces about town. The colours are subtle, and the style for the new season is sporty and casual. Denim is in. Designers in the new Hong Kong say they're ready to take on the world. The National Weather Report is next in 10's Late News, and then it's Sports Tonight with Matthew White.
Tracy, coming up shortly, the latest rugby league, AFL, and the Wallaby side named to take on the All Blacks in the Bledisloe Cup test.
This is 10 News. Looking now at the national weather details, and there were patches of rain around Cairns today. It was fine in Townsville, while Brisbane had a rainy 20 degrees. Fine and 17 for Sydney, fine for Canberra, and a cloudy 14 in Melbourne. It was also cloudy in Hobart, but fine for Adelaide, Perth, Darwin and Alice Springs. Most of the cloud cover is restricted to the eastern states, with isolated cells spread through the interior. The synoptic chart shows that high over Adelaide. It's been hovering there since yesterday and is deflecting cold fronts from the south. So for tomorrow, windy and showery conditions are expected for Cairns. It should be mostly fine in Townsville, a possible shower, and 25 for Brisbane, fine and 17 in Sydney, fine in Canberra and Melbourne, which should get to 14 degrees. Showers for Hobart and fine for Adelaide, 15, Perth 21, Darwin 29 and Alice Springs 17 after getting down to -2 overnight. And that's all for now from 10's Late News. Our next national bulletin is tomorrow morning at 11:30. But now put your feet up and enjoy Sports Tonight with Matthew White. I'm Tracy Spicer. Thanks for joining us. Good night.